Hey guys, I recently created this French Bulldog using graphite and I wanted to show you my process step by step and give you some tips on how to create fur detail and depth using graphite as well. I'm Kirsty Rebecca and I make drawing and painting tutorials that are easy to follow even if you're just starting out. I'll just quickly go through the supplies that I'm using, and all of these will be linked in the description below if you wanted to check them out. But first I'm using a Derwent Graphic HB for the lighter areas, a Faber-Castell 3B for the midtones, and you can use the same brand of pencil. It doesn't have to be Derwent or Faber-Castell, it can be one or the other. And I'm using a Staedtler Mars Lumograph Black in 8B, and this is a really dark pencil. It's darker than the Faber-Castell or the Derwent pencil will go. And then I've got a mechanical pencil with a relatively dark lead. I'm using a 4B. A blending stump, but you can use a cotton tip if you don't have a blending stump, and a Tombow mono eraser, and this is like a mechanical pencil but it's a tiny eraser. I didn't end up using this tool for this piece, but I like to include it because I usually use it with my graphite work because it's a really good tool if you need to lighten up any small areas or create lighter details. I'm also using a kneadable eraser which kneads into any shape that you like, so instead of rubbing your paper you can press and lift this eraser and it will lift off the graphite rather than damaging your paper. And the surface that I'm working on is Clairefontaine pastel matte, but you can use a watercolour paper or a drawing paper of your choice as well. I've transferred my image onto my surface using transfer paper, but you can freehand it if you like. I would recommend freehanding on a separate piece of paper if you're working on pastel matte, because if you erase too much on this paper it can damage the surface and it leaves marks really easily as well. So I would suggest getting all of your erasing and correcting done on a different piece of paper and then use transfer paper to transfer your outline onto the pastel matte. If your reference photo is in colour, then change it into grayscale using your phone or your computer, because when you're working in graphite it's much easier to work from a black and white photo than it is to copy a colour photo. I'm starting out by blocking in the darkest areas with the Mars Lumograph 8B pencil. Make sure that when you lay down your pencil strokes they follow the direction of the fur. Even though we'll be blending out these strokes, you'll still see some of them in the end, so you want to make sure that any strokes that do show through are going in the right direction. Pay close attention to the reference photo because fur can switch directions quite quickly, so don't assume that every piece of fur goes the same direction, especially around the eyes and the nose. And I usually start with the darkest areas because it makes it easier to fill in the midtones afterwards. Because my paper is white and I put the darkest areas in first, it gives me the top and the bottom range of my value scale, so it makes it a lot easier to see how dark I need to go in the other areas because I can easily compare the lights and the darks. When you get to the eyes, make sure that you look at your reference closely and make sure that you have that highlight in the eye white, because if you put graphite there it's really hard to erase it back to white again. So by leaving it white to begin with, that will be the easiest way to keep it really bright. Now I'm going in with the 3B pencil to block in some of the midtones and get a general idea of where the wrinkles will be in his face. I'm making sure that I'm pressing really lightly with my pencil. You want to build up your piece in layers, so even in the darkest areas, press lightly with your pencil and then work in layers to achieve the depth that you want. If you press hard in the dark area, you'll most likely end up with that graphite shine in the end. You'll probably end up with some graphite shine on your drawings anyway, but I like to try and avoid it if I can. Also, if you work in light layers, it's much easier to blend out each layer, which creates a softer look in the end, and you can also erase the graphite a lot easier if you need to, whereas if you pressed hard to start with, it can be very hard to fix any mistakes. So I'm just continuing adding some of the midtones to the legs on the side. When you're working on the claws of the dogs, just pay really close attention to your reference photo. I usually try and fill in the darkest areas, the little tiny crevices around the nails and in between the fingers, because it can get really confusing, especially if they're on a weird angle like mine are on in this photo. And once you've got in those shadows and those general lines of where the claws and the bottom of the paws are going, and then it'd be a lot easier to fill it in the end. Now I'm going in with the blending stump, and this can be used in a few different ways, and I'll show you how I use that as I progress in this piece. But in the first layer, I'm just blending out as much of the pencil strokes as I can. That way I've created a nice base layer of my tonal values to work with and add my details on top. If you don't have a blending stump, you can just use a cotton tip as well. They do a really good job of getting into those smaller details. And there's a few reasons that I like to blend out my graphite in between each layer. And one of them is that it blends the graphite into the paper, which allows you to add more layers on top. And the reason for that is because it pushes the graphite into the tooth of the paper. So rather than having that pigment sitting on top of your paper and not letting any other pigment sit on top of that, you can actually push that pigment into the paper, which allows some of that tooth to come through, so it grips the pencil again when you go and put more layers on top. Another reason is that it blends out the harsh pencil strokes a little bit smoother, which gives it a nice base to add some of those smaller details on top of. So it can create the illusion of many layers of fur on top of each other without you actually having to put all of those single pencil strokes down. I'm going in with the mechanical pencil for the detailed areas like the eyes and around the nose, and the reason why I like the mechanical pencil is because it's a very sharp point and it never gets dull. You can use a graphite pencil and keep sharpening it if you don't have a mechanical pencil, but I find that I waste a lot of my pencil in the sharpener, and it's a much more cost-effective and time-effective way to use a mechanical pencil for the smaller details. The highlight inside the eye is not perfectly round, and there's actually a few little spots in the eye that are part of the highlight, so make sure that you're really looking at your reference photo, especially for the eyes. And I find that the eyes can make or break a portrait, so by spending that extra time to make sure all the details are as accurate as possible is really important. I'm moving on to the area around the eyes as well to fill in some of that fur detail with the mechanical pencil. You don't want to fill in every single strand of fur because it will make it look unrealistic and wiry. So make sure that you're paying attention to where the darker areas of the fur are and add in a few more strokes in there to darken it up and have less of the paper showing through. And be a bit more sparing with your pencil strokes on the areas of light fur, so you let some of the white paper show through to give that lighter effect. The nose is a hard part for a lot of people, and I used to struggle with it when I first started out as well. But the trick is to try and see it as a bunch of shapes rather than a nose. Your brain can automatically fill in the gaps and assume that you know what a nose looks like, but by paying close attention to your reference photo and copying it exactly, it will look more realistic than if you just assume you know what a nose looks like. Sometimes it will look a little weird in the process, and you may think that you shouldn't put that dark bit in or that random spot there, but if you stick to your reference, it will all come together in the end and it will look realistic. A good way to force your brain to see it as a shape instead of a nose is to turn your work and your reference photo upside down and work like that. It changes your perspective and it can stop your brain from assuming it knows what it's doing. You can see that I'm just resting my hand on a tissue, and that's to stop my hand from smudging my artwork. You can also use a piece of paper if you like as well. And with the second eye, I'm just following the same process as the first eye, building up the details, being really careful about copying the reference exactly for the eyes. When you're creating the fur strokes, pay attention to your photo. I look at my reference more than my own artwork, so I become very familiar with the direction of the fur because it can change very quickly. For example, if you look at the nose area and between the eyes, the fur direction changes a lot because of the rolls and the wrinkles. If you want that 3D illusion in your drawings where it really pops off the page, you need to make sure that you get those strokes in the right direction and make sure that the creases are as dark as they need to be and the lighter areas are as light as they need to be. When you look at an animal in real life, you don't usually see every strand of fur, you look at it in clumps and clusters. So when I draw fur, I put some strokes in to indicate the fur texture and direction, but I don't put every single strand of fur in because the viewer's brain will automatically fill in the gaps and assume it's many strands of fur. If you did include every single stroke, it can end up looking wiry unless you're working on a really large scale. The length of the stroke is also really important. If you have a long pencil stroke on areas like the nose, it will look like it has long fur on the nose. You can almost do little short strokes or dots to make it look short. If you're struggling to get your hand in a good position to draw the fur strokes in the right direction and then turn your paper around and work from a different angle, I would definitely be doing this because it makes it easier for myself if I wasn't filming a tutorial. Try and keep the main point of your piece in focus, which is the eyes in this drawing. In this piece, I put a lot of detail in the eyes and then less detail in the face and even less detail in the body. And this is because when you look at something in real life, your eyes can only focus on one area at a time. For example, if you're looking at a landscape and you focus on a flower that's right in front of you, everything else will be out of focus. Or if you focus on a tree, then everything in front of that tree or behind that tree will be out of focus. So I try and create this effect with my art, usually more subtly than that example, but I do it because it gives the viewer something to automatically focus their eyes on first. And then once I've caught their attention with the focal point, their eyes will wander around the rest of the drawing and it will end up being a more engaging piece than if you had the entire piece of artwork in focus with every little detail in every part of the work. It's really hard for the viewer to know where to look, and it can have less of an impact than if you had one focal point. This drawing has a really exaggerated focal point, and you don't have to be that exaggerated. You can just put a little bit more detail in the area where your focal point is, and that can be enough. Or if you did want to put detail over the entire piece, having something else, like having more contrast in your focal area, can draw the eyes to that spot. Or if you're working in color, you can use color to your advantage to draw the viewer's eye to that focal point. But basically, I'm just saying that if you want to have a focal point in your piece and you want to try and get the viewer's eye drawn to that by using detail or contrast or color. It just tends to keep the viewer a bit more engaged on your piece. When using your blending stump, you can use it in a few different ways. So you can blend your strokes out smoothly by working in a small circular motion, overlapping a lot until it looks as smooth as you like. And this is great for out of focus areas. You can also lightly blend out your strokes by going in the same direction as the fur, but not completely blending them out. And this can create a softer look for your fur and can give a nice texture for the parts of fur that are more in focus. Also, I don't clean my blending stumps on purpose because I use the excess graphite on the stump for some areas. For example, I used it a lot on the wood grain because it was a good thickness in comparison to a pencil tip, and it leaves a lighter mark of graphite rather than an intense line like a pencil does. So there are a lot of ways you can use a blending stump. I always tape my work down with acid-free, low-tack masking tape, and that's to stop my paper from moving around as I work, but it also gives a nice clean border around the edge of my page, which makes it easier to hold onto or to frame at the end. As I get into the more detailed layers, I build up the values with my 8B Mars Lumograph and continue adjusting the values with each layer. Values or contrast is one of the most important things to get right when you're working in realism. Making sure that your initial outline is correct is really important, but then making sure that your shadows are dark enough and your highlights are light enough is really important. It will make your drawing pop if you get the contrast right. If you're unsure whether your drawing needs to be darker, then you can take a picture of it and compare it side by side with your reference photo on your phone or on your computer, and you'll be able to see the difference between the two and adjust your artwork to match. A lot of beginners think that if you add more detail, it's going to look more realistic, and I used to think that way as well, but as soon as I started getting those dark areas darker and the lighter areas lighter and creating more of a contrast in my work and making sure that my initial outline was very accurate, those two things are more important than how much detail you have in your work. And then I'm just going back through, mixing it up between the mechanical pencil and the Lumograph 8B and just darkening up any areas that I think needs to be darker, and then using the mechanical pencil to add in all of those little details that I might have missed to give a bit more indication of fur detail. I've lost the footage of where I was adding the whiskers, but I wanted to give you some tips with that as well. Whiskers actually come out of those little dots on the cheek. They don't just come out at random from anywhere on their face. And they're quite random in length and direction. They also vary in darkness because of the light and the shadow. So check your reference and follow that if you're unsure. I've made a playlist on the screen with some other graphite and charcoal tutorials with tips that I thought you might find useful. So click on that and I'll see you over there.